Okay. Hello, everyone. Give everybody a few minutes to get in. 'Cause I
Hmm.
can't tell who's coming in or not.
No, we can't. I can't see the chat.
Yeah.
I might have to go to my phone and maybe. Oh no, it's on my phone too. Oh, it's popping up now. So maybe that's why. Because I had just had all three pages pop up.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But
because I can't see it.
I can't see the chat though. Let me see if I can go see it on my phone. Because I'm not gonna know if somebody asking us a question or nothing.
Okay. All right. Okay, I see it now.
You see it?
Yeah, I see it. Okay. So I just want to go ahead and get started so I can go ahead and get your introduction in. So welcome to
Okay, go ahead.
Energetic Leo. And today, hey Eldra. So today I have here Kazaya from All in the Cards. She's going to talk about shadow work today. So this is going to be our first podcast together. Um, so today we're going to be talking about shadow work. So the reason we're going to talk about shadow work because this is something that will be helpful for everyone, not just people on spiritual journey, just but for everyone who's trying to work on themselves emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Okay. So I'm just going to go over briefly what we're going to be discussing and how we're going to do this. So I'm going to say a few things and I'm going to let Keziah take over. And then at the end, I will allow for anyone who wants to come up to come in. And if you have anything you want to say, if you want to ask a question, you can do that. So let me go ahead and get started. So we're talking about shadow work. So what is shadow work? So, shadow work is working with the unconscious mind to reveal parts of yourself that you may hide from. That's basically how I look at shadow work. And shadow work can come from different forms of trauma, okay? Whether that's physical, emotional, mental. And it doesn't have to be intentional trauma, it can just be generational trauma from our parents and they pass it down to us. So, I want to just say 5 types of trauma that we can experience, and that would be rejection, abandonment, humiliation, betrayal, and injustice. So, those are the 5 core types of trauma that we can experience growing up. And also, like I said, it doesn't have to be intentional, it could just be generational. But trauma can come from anybody that you have some type of connection to. It doesn't just have to be your parents, it could be a sibling, it could be a close friend or whatever. Okay, so it can come from anybody that has some type of effect on you.
That's
And
right.
before I let Keziah come up and talk, I just want to say this just because we could be a parent or a child dealing with this. So just if you have children, just think of yourself as a parent and the things that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and then think about your child or you as a child. So I want you to put yourself in both places as you're going through this so you can understand how easy it can be to cause it and for you to have some type of effect on your child and how your parents had an effect on you. So just think about the things that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, finances, job, relationships, and all of that, and how easy it can be for you to just dismiss your child in that moment when that child may need you. So that child may have that betrayal, that rejection, that abandonment from you, and then it's not because you're trying or intentional. It's just because you're dealing with your own thing. So I just want us to keep that in the back of our mind as we deal with trauma and our own issues from childhood, just to see how it is from the parent's perspective and from a child's perspective. So keep that in the back of your mind. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Kay Swin, all in the car, that she can discuss.
Mhm. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of that, but I do want to start out by introducing myself, right? So to Tantalus Oracle, energetically Leo over here, right? So she's both channels and my spiritual sister, right? And so we both are coming together to do this podcast segment in reference of shadow work. I have definitely been on my channel is allinthecards.com. So over there, I'm streaming as well. But I also have been doing shadow work for a very long time now, probably like 3-4 years, right? And so that's another way of connecting with others as well, with sharing my experiences of me going through my shadow work by recording myself, right? And so that's truly how I got started on my spiritual journey, trying to realize exactly which way to go. And understanding that, you know, it takes shadow work to start, right? So to start understanding, why am I having all these changes? Why am I going through all these things? And then you start to question yourself. Also, it was a change in life for me. So I really started out with no guidance. Okay. It was the same with me in reference of picking up the cards, right? Which was a form of divination. But with that being said, that's how I got into shadow work. And I started realizing, okay, this is another way for me to go into the part of me that I don't like or didn't like, right? Or was traumatized or had major issues that I never thought about sitting with myself because, you know, one day I got into my closet at my house and I sat in there and I just cried and I couldn't stop crying. And I didn't realize then what I was doing, but I was really releasing all that anger, all that trauma, right, was coming out. And so I decided from there, it's time for me to start working on me, right? Because that's the first key, right? That's the first key to shadow work, is to be aware that it's time for you to get with your shadow self, to go within and start working on you so your life can be better. Because trust me, when you start deep diving and you start looking at those ugly places, because I'm going to tell you what, shadow work ain't no easy walk, okay? It ain't no easy walk. It ain't no walk in the park. You may have to go walk in the park, you know, after you get started, because it's going to be hard. Because it's hard to face your own things that you have went through. It's hard. You know, that was me going in that closet back in 2018, right? And having to sit with myself and just let it all out, right? And this is what I always tell you guys about. Even on my channel and with all the things that I've done all different type of shadow work videos. But the main thing I always start out and tell you guys from the beginning and the end is that this is about you. Nobody can do shadow work for you. Nobody can tell you how to do shadow work and how right and wrong shadow work has to be. It's about you and you sitting with those emotions, your heart chakra, to peel it back, to get right, family. Okay. And so with that being said, that was just a little piece of how I got started with it. That's why people run from it. Exactly, Tiff. That's why people run from it, because they scared to face themselves, because it's a reflection, right? And so being able to face yourself is very hard, right? Because everybody wants to love and light and laugh and kiki and holler and, you know, oh, gossip and talk and be friendly and everything. But when the time to come down to the get down is about you, you know. So that's why those people that can't, you know, face themselves in the mirror, can't, you know, really run down their own flaws, right? Because we all have duality. We all have good and bad. We all have, you know, that's us. Just like we are all divine feminine, divine masculine, we have both sides. And there's no need to run from it. Embrace it. That's what I've always told people. Even though people will pull out your flaws and they'll talk about your flaws, they'll talk about your shadow self. But guess what? Who got to face who? You, right? Willing to accept accountability, really to be ready for change. You got to be ready, because if you ain't ready, it's gonna take you backwards, you see. And sometimes you may have to step backwards to get forward, You know, there's nothing wrong with that because we all fall down, just like the song say, but we got to get back up. That was true words. Okay. So let me talk about the actual definition that I have written down, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I do have written down. Of course, like I told Tangelus, I went and got my old notebook because I've been doing these videos for a while. She don't watch all my videos, you know. My sis be on it, and it, just as much as it helps her, it has helped me as well, and others on my channel, right? And so everybody loves the shadow work videos, and it has helped so many people. But it's also about not just watching them one time, because shadow work doesn't end, family. It doesn't stop, because guess what? Life keeps lifing. So if you don't revisit some of that, and if you don't continue to work on yourself, things can go back to where you were before, right? Remember, life is a cycle, okay? So you don't want to get thrown off that cycle, and then you having to, you know, go backwards, and then have, you know, it's a ping pong effect. You know, you want to continuously work on yourself, because spirituality is a lifestyle. It's not a trend, even though it may feel like that now in this day and time, but it's not. It's a lifestyle, and you have to be ready to change your life. Okay, because it changed my life forever, and I'm forever grateful. You understand? But it took hard work. It's definitely not a linear track. Exactly. It's definitely not. It's an actual windy road, dark road too. But it's okay to go in the darkness. Okay. We have to go in the darkness to get to the light. And sometimes it's okay to sit in that darkness. That's why I say embrace it. Don't be scared of the dark. That's what our spiritual mother always tell us. Don't be scared of the dark. Go in the darkness, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so unraveling and healing the hidden traumas in the unconsciousness. Okay, sacred work of the brave heart is what I had written based off of this. Is all from different things that I have, you know, researched, and this is something that I always write. I write things down, family. So my pieces of research will come from different places, right? So that I wanted to mention that first. So the sacred work of the brave heart that is done by yourself, okay? But also on a collective basis, because I do shadow work sessions as well, live on my Patreon. We do those sessions as a collective, right? Because we have done our work separately. That's what I want you to understand. When people say, oh, you shouldn't do shadow work, that's not real shadow work when you have multiple people or you're doing it all together. That's not right. That's not true. You could still come together with others on a collective basis and talk about the things that you went through while you were by yourself. What questions do you have? Go and ask the ancestors and the Most High. Those are the type of things that we do, you know? We pull divination into it. We ask the questions as a collective. We've done shadow work sessions on Patreon a few times. Definitely want to keep working on myself, and I'm willing to embrace it. That's the key. That's the key, Glow. That's the key. If you're willing to continue to work on yourself, that's the key. Sharing helps others to learn. Yes, each one teach one. Is it, Tiff? Each one teach one. Because trust me, I love to be a student, you know? I love to be a student because I want to continue to keep learning. Because if you don't want to be a student and not be learning and feel like you know it all, then you have no way to grow. And without growth, you might as well be dead. You understand? So I'll forever be a student to the game, right? And I don't possess the know-it-all. I feel as if exactly it's practice, and practice makes perfect, right? And so that's how I approach everything that I work on my channel and with my spiritual family. You know, I'm constantly wanting to learn, right? Like a sponge, just soak it up, right? But that also includes learning things on yourself. So we always want to know about what happens with this person, that person, this situation, but you don't start with you. Start with you. That's the first thing you do. And then that's why I don't understand why people are lost about what is shadow work. They want to know what is shadow work. Shadow work is you. It's the part that you want to hide. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's why they don't know about it, because they hiding from themselves. You see, wearing a mask with yourself, you know? And so that's the part that people don't realize. I had to learn it too. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is a part of the spiritual journey, because the spiritual journey is not an exciting journey. Okay. Some people make it seem that way, but those same people are probably the ones that are still lost. You see. Mm-hmm. So the unknown emotions of inner self, where you face your own pain, your own traumas, your own ignorance. See, some people don't even talk about your own ignorance. It's you a strong person to say to yourself, I'm ignorant about that because I don't know about it, And so I like that version. Yeah. That one looks better, sis. But we learning this StreamYard together, family, okay? But yeah, it's definitely a task, family, but it's definitely you being able to own up to who you truly are, right? The unknown. Okay. And sometimes it's scary. Listen, fear, right? We just did a shadow work session about fear. And I told everybody, and that's one thing you got to do when you're coming on a collective basis doing your shadow work, as we do with shadow work sessions, you have to be open, right? But that's a part of you learning yourself, so you can be open to others, because there's nothing to hide, right? There's nothing to fear, because you have faith in the place of fear, you see? And so we discussed that. Fear is a part of that unknown, right? You have a fear of flying. You got a fear of this. You got a fear of that. You got to break that fear, because with God is no fear, it's faith, okay? And without faith is dead. You're dead. So, or your reality, because I always tell people about the mind, right? It all starts with the mind, right? First universal law, everything is mental. We're all connected. We all should know these things by now in reference of the universal law. And if you don't, that's fine too. Go back to some of my videos. I've done videos on the universal laws as well, okay? So it's just a part of just cutting through certain things, family, about yourself, okay? And not being afraid, okay? To take apart yourself and learn about yourself, learn about who you are. And when I started shadow work videos, with some of the things that we talk about was to go into the darkness, go into meditation, right? But we started out with journaling, because I felt that journaling was the first thing that helped me to really, really sit with myself. But sometimes people can't go in that closet and let it all out like I did, right? Or sometimes people let it out and don't realize they're going through the dark night of the soul. We talked about that too, right? That's a part of your shadow work as well. Some people don't even realize they're going through the dark night of the soul. They feel like the devil done got to my life. Oh my God, it's just my whole life going to shambles. Well, that's a part of your shadow. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of you haven't sat with. It's a part of why you're going through that in your life. And it starts with who? You, right? And so that's why with all the people that I work with, even doing all the readings and stuff like that, I always try to start with shadow work with those that want to start with that type of services, right? Is who am I? That's the first thing we started with on my first shadow work video. Who am I? Right? Because I have it written right here in my notebook. And then we put who am I? And then I put the dark side of Keisha, right? Because I always tell my collective as well as my spiritual family knows me by Keisha and Keziah. You know why I did that? Because I named my higher self Keziah, and I named my lower self, my shadow self, Keisha, because that's the part of you who you have been ashamed of all your life. The trauma, the drama, everything that you've had is your old self that you know, people say walk away from your old self. That's not reality. That's not reality. I say embrace your old self, because I'm still Keisha, and she still might peep out sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay too, you know? But you got to be able to understand that. That's a part of your power. Never let them take away your power. See? That's about you knowing who you are, okay? And being able to recognize it. You see? That's why I start out with the first question. Who am I? And you need to be able to write that down in detail. The good and the bad, the pros and the cons of yourself, because you may be writing that down for a man that you want to know about. Why not know about yourself first before you jump into any other relationship? Because it's all about the relationship with you, right? That's truly what shadow work is. You understand? And so it's also about listening to that inner voice, family, right? That inner voice, okay? Your internal inner voice, going within, doing your meditation, sitting with self, listening to self, right? All of that's going to help. If you're on a spiritual journey and you're not meditating, I don't know what you're doing. I have no clue, right? Because it was hard for me to not meditate and try to have a connection even with the ancestors. There's no way you're going to have a connection with your spiritual team if you're not meditating. But also meditate for you. Listen to you, right? Sit with yourself. Yeah, because even before the journaling, the awareness and desire is ignited. Yes, right. You have to have that first. If you're not ready to sit with yourself and really dive deep, you're not ready to do shadow work. That's just a given from the jump, okay? But that's about you making that decision first, you see? You have to make that decision. And most people make that decision after something happens traumatic, right? That's when it happens. Yeah, meditation opens you up for sure. Definitely. It does. Okay. Meditation is needed listen, even if you ain't spiritual, you need meditation, right? With the world we live in today, family, there's no way around it, right? I definitely need to know who I am. Yes. That's the first thing you need to write on your paper when you journal. When you start journaling and doing your shadow work, love, start with that question and see what you got. I still got mine written in this book here. All of the information that I wrote about myself, a full page. And some of the things weren't good. Okay. So be truthful. Be truthful. Because guess what? If you're not truthful, ancestors and spirit, listen, God already know who you are, who you hiding from. You know what I mean? This is a part of of you going through the process, though, right? So, family, and once you start looking at yourself, family, you'll start realizing why you have all kinds of issues, relationship issues, family, financial issues, right? Childhood trauma could definitely bring issues into your relationship with your children, with your lover, with who you picking as a lover. You understand? Shadow work is needed. It's necessity. It's a necessity, family. And I'm very passionate about it because it's helped me through my life. I can speak on it, in reference of experience, you see. Because somebody can't tell me to go do no shadow work and they ain't sat and did as much shadow work as I've done. Because then I'm going to be looking at you crazy. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm going to be able to tell you when my shadow self is going to stand up or when it's not. Okay. Yeah. I feel like the universe is a way of guiding you towards exactly what about you and you need to address first in whichever order. It doesn't matter whichever order. Yeah, right. Whatever order you want, right? Because guess what? Who cares? It's you doing it. Nobody else. It's you and the universe, you and God, you and your spirit team, all behind you. Whichever way you want to do it, right? Whether you want to journal it, like I said, whether you want to go in meditation for it, right? Whatever way, whether you want to record yourself. I started out journaling and then I said, you know what? Let me record this. And let me put this out to others and see if I can help somebody else with what I'm going through. That's what I did. So yes, everybody will have different ways of going about shadow work. That's why I said earlier, there's no right and there's no wrong on it. You understand? It's just like spirituality. It's just like your spiritual journey. There's no right and wrong, right? Because it's about you bettering yourself, right? That's the key. Self, right? And so that's another thing people need to realize, with shadow work. whenever you decide on which way you want to go about it, however you want to go about it, right? Really think about what it is that you want to change about yourself and put action behind it. Don't just write it down and see it, because then you're going to have it visually in front of you, right? And you're going to have it in your mind too, right? But then it's time to do the work. Now, this is when it gets rough, right? Because this is when you're going to have to change things around. And it's going to start with this, the mentality, your perception. That's what I preach, right? Because I always tell everybody that's on my channel and in my spiritual family, if they got your mind, they got you, right? And who's that? Well, whatever low vibrating energy you decide to rebel in, right? Or you decide to believe, right? The lies, right? Whatever it is, you know? Everybody got their own vices. I don't know your life. You know what I'm saying? I tell you guys that on my channel. I don't know your life. All I can tell you is that it starts with your mentality. That's why it's the first universal law is it's all mental, right? Your perception, because what you believe and what you perceive is going to be your reality, okay? So believe that, right? And so let's see what else I want to tell you guys. So I also have some things here about exploring, your shadow, when doing your shadow work is about you either journaling, right? I told you guys that start with either journaling. We talked about meditation. And I also forgot to tell you guys to write yourself a letter, right? So I told you about how starting your journal, you can start with I am, who am I? But also I wrote a letter to myself, and I also wrote a letter to God. My best friend gave me that one, to write a letter to God. Write a letter to God, asking God or apologizing to God about your behavior of your shadow self, right? And so that goes a long way to make you really think, right? About what it is that you really want to put down on that paper, right? And what you feel ashamed of, what you want to tell God. And maybe you feel that you don't want to apologize. Maybe you feel like you just want to put it all on paper and tell God what it is that how you really truly feel. Do that. The Most High definitely received it, right? As you're being received anyway. But to actually be able to write a letter to yourself as well as to God is something that it has helped me. So I always tell people that, right? What I say, meditate. Oh, and breathing exercises. You really want to do some breathing exercises when you do your shadow work, because it can get overwhelming. Okay. I know this for a fact. Okay. When you start looking at yourself, what traumas you went through. See, that's when that breathing exercise is really gonna need. You're really gonna have to kick in with some breathing exercises, okay? Because it was traumatic and you're having to relive it in your mind. You're having to relive it by writing it out. What was you angry about? What did I do? What happened? What happened to me? Especially if it's something that hits strong, like that inner child trauma that you also need to tap into. And some of that can go towards the abandonment, molestation, all of these things, family. It's not easy, you see? And so these are the things that you have to tap into: abusive behavior to yourself or from others, right? Yeah. And if therapy too, you may need to do therapy. Therapy is not a bad thing. Shadow work is a form of therapy for yourself. But if you feel like you're not strong enough to do that by yourself, therapy is the way. I've done therapy too, so I can speak to that as well. It definitely helped me as well, But I feel like the therapy that I went through was to a certain point where I still had to face myself. I still had to face myself, because you can have a conversation with someone and they talking back, and some people will talk back and just be talking back because they want to get, money off of it. Okay. Don't be fooled. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being real. But to be really, truly dedicated to yourself, that's having strength. See, that's a part of your strengths. So show yourself that you can be dedicated to you peeling yourself back as well. I mean, if you need to do therapy, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I do feel that, with that, some people may need therapy and some people may be able to tackle it on their own. Or they may need to do both, you know. But yeah, I do feel therapy is needed. Another thing, um, with shadow work, some of the things that I can think of that I will let you guys know in reference to investigating your feelings, right? Investigating your own feelings through your shadow work objectively with compassion. That's what I wrote down. And I did that by writing down the things that I need to work on myself and the emotions around it, right? So let's say you have problems with finances where you're constantly in this cycle of, I'm always getting money, but it leaves me quickly, or I'm always trying to make sure other people are taken care of before myself. That goes back to your shadow work. What makes you do that, right? Really think about that. Really look at all the aspects of things. Majority of the time is basically the mindset and the perception of lacking, right? The scarcity attitude, right? You may spend money as fast as you get it because you've always lacked money in some way or felt like you've lacked money, right? It can go deep, family, in reference of the shadow work, but I'm just giving you some examples, some things that I found out as well. Okay, just like inner child trauma or inner child memories that could bring up situations of abandonment. Okay, abandonment issues. Maybe you didn't have your father, maybe you didn't have your mother, or maybe you had both in the family and they just didn't pay attention to you because they was working so hard. That's also abandonment issues. Don't get it twisted. 2-parent households can also abandon the child as well. Don't get it twisted. See? But if you don't think about it, that I've seen people say that, within their shadow work. And I'm like, wow, So just think about these things. Anger, right? Anger is another situation a lot of people need to deal with. Why you have relationships and situations in relationships where, have your anger may get out of control. You may want to knock a nigga head off all the time. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but I'm just saying, And why is that? Because of your past experiences. Well, what happened in that past experience? Well, I went through abusive, just deep dive. That's what you have to do in reference of your shadow work. Ask yourself these questions. That's a part of shadow work. You see? And so I just listed off a few things for you. It could go further and further and further. Selfishness, being greedy. You know what I mean? It's all manipulative. Maybe you are that, and why? So it's all about asking yourself why, right? Why do I have this behavior? Why am I like this? That's why I said the first question of doing your journal, it should be, who am I? Then you're going to be able to see on paper who you are, but you got to be truthful. You got to be truthful. If you're not truthful with yourself, then you can't be truthful to nobody else, right? So that's investigating your feelings, being objective about yourself, and then having compassion to yourself. Because even though you're putting your whole shadow self out on paper, in your journal, however you want to do it, you still have to be compassionate to yourself or have compassion. You still have to be easy on you because it's not going to be an easy journal. Okay, journal. And it's not going to be an easy journey. Okay. But yeah, and so what else I had here? To identify your shadow, of course, to understand that, I had these things written down that I will share with you guys. Now, I wrote this back in 2022. I am flawed, right? That's something you may want to, write down. I must take care of everyone else. These are things to identify you need shadow work, right? I'm never going to find love. Okay. These are things that make you identify your shadow or things you probably have said, right? That's your shadow self speaking. Another one, I'm not worthy of love. why you feel that way. You know what I'm saying? That to me, it sounds like you got some type of trauma, past experience. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another one was, I'm always broke. Never say that out your mouth, family. Because if you say that, you gonna be that. But why are you always broke? You see? So these are things that are triggering, right? Because we had a shadow work video of triggers. Remember that? We
Yeah.
had triggers that's triggering yourself, right? Or you get triggered by other people. Other people make you upset. Well, why do other people make you so upset all the time? It's got to be you. You are the common denominator,
Yeah.
right? And so that's why I understand why people don't recognize that. But sometimes, you don't recognize your own behavior until somebody else tell you. And if you're not ready to be aware of yourself, then you're gonna look at that person in a certain way, or you're gonna talk mess about that person and say, that person's talking junk about me. But if you having this same thing become a pattern, family, it's you, right? And you need to be able to identify when it is time for you to do shadow work. And that's why I told you guys at the beginning, you can always get sucked back into life, right? Because the shadow self don't go nowhere. It's you. You are made of duality, right? Two sides of you, the yin and the yang, right? What about negativity? We all have it, right? We all have negativity, love. Yes. Negativity is a part of that shadow self, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to know how to control it. That's the key, right? To the negativity, right? Because some people, they're not realistic. They're not realistic. Oh, you're gonna forever. You can like we always talk about. You can always change something negative into a positive. That's the duality of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everything negative can be changed to a positive. That's why you got cables that have both. When you put cables to your car, what is it? They got a positive and a negative, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
makes things go with both. It's the same analogy. It's the only analogy I can give you in reference of what about negativity? Well, you need that too in some cases.
Yeah.
Okay? You need it both. That's why I say embrace your shadow self. Don't get rid of it. That's the dark side. Sometimes you're gonna need that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Somebody get ready to harm you in some way, you think your positive self is gonna show up? No, ma'am. That's not realistic. Okay, we keep it real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gonna need that because as I'm always told, right, as well as I know, is that you are able to protect yourself spiritually and physically, as well as your family. Okay, and so
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna need that. You're gonna need to be able to turn that on sometimes. Okay, that's the difference. Knowing, being conscious, because you use what? Your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So being able to identify family. And then the last one I wrote about being able to identify you need shadow work is if you're saying I'm not emotional enough because I hold stuff in. Yeah. That means you need to do shadow work, especially if you're saying anything about holding something in, right? Because you holding it in, it can't be released. And guess what's gonna happen? It's gonna keep building and building and building until one day it's gonna explode and you're gonna lose control.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have control over some things, that's not good. You should always try to control your emotions because your emotions can either save you or kill you, or you kill someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So remember that, family. And then that, in a nutshell, is shadow work. So I gave you how to identify it, how to investigate your emotions. We talked about what shadow work is, how to even do your shadow work, right? So pretty much in a nutshell, family, that's what shadow work is, and that's what I've presented it several times in my shadow work videos. I've done so many different shadow work videos, shadow work sessions, healing with Keziah. What else we got? All for the shadow, where we did exercises, right?
Mhm.
So all of those videos are on the playlist on my channel. Me and Tantalus have been through all of them, and I still go back and watch some of them. Okay, and I suggest you do too. Right? Go and watch some of those shadow work videos. Work on yourself, family, because nobody else is going to help you work on yourself but you. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's all.
thank you, Keziah, for telling us all about the shadow work. So, if
Yeah.
anybody, I'm going to open it up for anybody who want to come up and say something. You want to talk about a situation that you have. You can come on camera if you want. If you don't want to come on camera, that's fine. You can,
Put it in
mute
the
your
chat.
video.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, if anybody want to say anything, I'm gonna see if I can put it back in the chat for anybody who want to come up
Oh,
and
okay.
share something.
Mhm.
If not, we can just keep talking.
Let me read some of the comments too, because I didn't get the chance because I was in my zone. Once I get to
Mm.
talking, you know me, how I am. I talk, honey. They're
And
running my family.
another thing I want to say is a lot of times when we're, like you said, people triggering you and you find that somebody is aggravate you. I don't know why that person act like that. This person doing that. That's that person showing you who you are. And it's letting you know that's something that you need to work on.
That's
So
right.
a lot of times I'll be somewhere, I'm like, oh, and I think about, okay, why is that person bothering you? What's going on? Why you feel that way about that? And I
That's
try
right.
to do that so I can, oh, yeah, must be something I did.
Yeah, exactly.
Myself.
But you see, that is a change in your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm like that too now. But before I would pop off.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give a damn. Okay, excuse my language, but I didn't care. If you said something to me, or I would pop off. Or if I felt like somebody was triggering, I'm gonna ask you what
What's
you
going on here?
right. But now I don't do that because now I know it's a reflection of what I either put myself in front of or I'm dealing with, or either it's that person reflecting off of me back to themselves, like they're going through something,
Yeah.
right? And they're trying to trigger me because they may even know my triggers, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing. But being able to control your emotions, that's this. That's being able to control yourself, right? Yes,
Yeah.
so true. The mind is the devil's playground. As Shay, young girls, that's right. Tries to change all the rules. It's up to you to choose to play. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Sis got it right. That's right, sis. Yes. That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to mention that this is the first podcast, and then I just wanted to introduce us to what is shadow work. And the next podcast is going to be on emotional maturity, in which you already talked about today. And you mentioned that you have to be able to understand your emotions, get your emotions under control. So in order for you to do that, you first have to understand your emotions and be able to speak to others and speak to yourself in a way that you can vocalize and understand what you're feeling. Because some people, they can't say how they feel and they start hitting stuff and running, doing all of this and that because they don't know how to express their emotions in a healthy way. And then the following podcast is going to be on effective communication, because you got to be able to say it. You got to be able to communicate how you feel.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Effective communication and being able to have effective communication and to be able to receive communication as well. Because some people can speak, but they can't receive it back, right? But they got to understand it's a give and a take type situation to make effective communication.
And stop talking to be defensive, because people, they don't hear what you're saying because all they're trying to figure out is what they're going to say. They're not listening to you.
But that's not effective communication. That's not effective communication. That's why
I'm like, if I'm talking, I can't hear you.
Right. You gotta let that other person be able to speak, to express themselves, and you to be able to express yourself, and that's effective communication, coming together, being able to express each other. Hey,
really.
So that's another thing with effective communication. I feel like those topics are wonderful. And it really is good that you started with the shadow work, because those who are ready to start with the shadow work, if you're going through doing your sessions, and how long do I do shadow work? Shadow work is
for the rest of your life.
It's a forever. because guess what, Glow? Life keeps on life, sis. Okay. So you're gonna have to do shadow work for the rest of your life, honey. Because it's about you. Guess you know what I say to that question too? How long do I work on myself? You're gonna be working on yourself forever. Nobody's perfect, right? Nobody's perfect. And when we say that to say is that maybe now you may be going through something now, right, Glow? You might be going through some type of trauma bonding situation, right? And so you go and watch. I did a video on trauma bonding. Go over there and watch that under Healing with Keziah, right? But then you may have that and you may feel like, okay, well, I'm healed from that. I'm okay now, right? But then you turn around and you have a whole emotional breakdown. Then you need to go look at the emotional intelligence video I did on Shadow Work Session, right? So where we broke down the emotional wheel, we looked at all the emotions, okay? So it's a lot, it's no, I'm going to do shadow work and it's cut off. That's not how it worked, family. I'm still doing shadow work. And I told y'all I started with these videos about 3 years ago, right?
Because once you work out one thing, it's going to reveal something else. Because you're acting one way, but something happens to you, you start acting this way, and it causes you to act that way, and that way, and that way. So it's just a progression. So even though it may boil down to one thing, you didn't act it out in 3 and 4 different ways, coping in 3 or 4 different ways for one situation. And then that situation may lead to something else you have to work through. So it's always something that you're going to have to work through. It's not like I did this today and now I'm good. I don't have to worry about that. Because then that's going to, once you heal something, it's like, oh, so now that's why I've been acting like that. And that's why I've been doing that too, because of that. I didn't realize that. So it's always something that you're going to have to work on.
Yeah. I like that. What she said, as committed as you are becoming, your best self will determine how long you're willing to do the work. That's right. Because it's a never ending cycle. That is absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. Because let me tell you something. It's also with the relationships you have coming and going in and out of your life. Okay. You can be with one man one time, you could be with the next man the next time. You got to do shadow work because you don't mess with this person, and now you got to go. You could be switching jobs, having to deal with this manager, and they could trigger something brand new or something from your past that you done moved into a new job and didn't even realize was going to happen. And then boom, here you go with shadow work again. You see what I'm saying?
And I want to say this about that, about people going in from relationships to relationships. People move from one relationship and don't heal. And then you go to the next one, and then you bringing that into the next relationship. And then I'm gonna say this: then you come looking for a love reading because you're trying to figure out why somebody else is
and then they want to know everything in that reading because you haven't healed. You haven't even done no shadow work for this person, and you on to the next person. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, also, I want to say Tiff Talk 22 is going to be on the next podcast talking about emotional maturity. So me and her is going to be on there together talking about that.
That'll be good. I will be tuned in. I can't wait. Okay. Yes, Tiff, good. Okay. And what Glow said, I'm going through something now and I ain't healed yet, but you know what? You recognize you going through it. That's the first start to it.
Yeah.
So now, Glow, it's time for you to go in and say, what is it that I haven't healed from? Hey, Miss T, what is it that I haven't healed from? And what's causing me to feel this way? What happened in that relationship that either triggered me or made me feel some type of way? And why do I feel like that? Right? And sit with yourself. Don't sit with nobody else but yourself. Meditate, really think about what's made you feel this way and how you can change that for yourself. That's the part you have to do in reference of healing. And
because any relationship you have with anybody is always going to be a reflection of how you feel about yourself and what you allow. And most of the time when we move from relationship, we let people treat us the same way in every relationship until we work on whatever that issue is that's drawing us to that same type of person. I don't care if you with 5 different people, those 5 different people is that same one person from the get-go that you didn't heal from. It's going to always be something about that person that you latching on to. I don't care what their name are.
and really, in actuality, it starts with you, because what you have attracted to, what you're attracted to over and over and over again, and you're not even realizing it's a pattern that you're picking up, because it's you wanting to have that in your life, right? So until you stop that pattern, which the common denominator is who you, out of all those relationships, I keep saying that to you guys over and over and over again, because that is what people need to hear. They'll say, oh, well, I went with this man and he was the same way that Charlie was. Well, honey, you picked Charlie and Andrew.
Yeah.
Because of what you're going through. Right? So it's people having heartbreak of my husband not being here. He's on the influence of okay. Yeah. Okay. And that's a lot you gotta sit with. Because you're gonna have to ask yourself some questions, some hard questions, right?
And a lot of times that people use things to cope with issues they haven't dealt with. So that's why it's going to be important for you to work on yourself. And even if we're talking about going through spirit, people want to go, I'm doing a spiritual journey and I'm doing these things and I want to get into this. But like Miss T said, if you have something that is going to cause you fear, when you're trying to do all these things, you're trying to work on yourself, that thing is going to keep being placed right in front of you and keep pushing you back to where you can't progress and you can't elevate, because that's what they're using to keep you in that fear state of mind and to keep you stagnant. So you're going to have to work through your issues so you can be able to grow.
That's right. That's true. Because if you keep going backwards, it's definitely not going to help you to move forward. You see? And fear is mainly one of them, especially when it's generational, because sometimes we don't have a clue of things, because that's true. And you know what? Let me see on my channel. I can't even, let me see. It's probably people over there chatting, child. I don't even know. I'm sorry, y'all. If y'all
that's the thing about generational is that you don't even realize that that's something that's not good for you. Well, my mama did it to me and their mama did it and all of this and that, but you're not realizing this, that started from trauma from somebody else and they just passed it down. You too, Lily. So it's just get passed down from one person to another. So we have to like young girl said, we have to recognize it. And once you start looking at stuff and see how, wow, that wasn't good, just because we've been doing, like people at work, well, we've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah, you've been doing it wrong for 30 years. So you have to look at it and see like, okay, this is not working for us, because obviously we got this and this going on. So it's not working.
Yes, that is true. Yeah. Somebody said the devil is a liar. I know that's right. Yes, that's right. But you got to remember too, the devil is within you. Right? So you got to tame that devil. That's that shadow self, right? So you got to really look at yourself. You know, when people say that made me laugh, because you it's back to the duality thing. I always preach that to you guys, you know, because it's so true, because that helped me to learn and embrace who I am, you know, and embrace that shadow side. And I'm never not going to embrace the shadow side, because that's a part of me too, right? Some of us are just born with it. Like Miss T said, it's in our bloodline, right? It's about us correcting. It's about us breaking those generational curses. And by doing that is by starting with you first, which is shadow work. See?
Yeah.
That's why I forever push shadow work, because it's helped me tremendously, family. Right? I'm a living testimony, and I'm still a work in progress. And there ain't nothing wrong with being a work in progress, family, as long as you bettering you. Okay? And so that, you know, she's about, I know they talking to me though. That's funny.
Another thing I want to say is
and
sometimes that thing that you think is bad is not actually bad, but people that made you, that's maybe your gift. People make you feel as if, oh, you know, they may see something in you and try to get you to push that down, but that's the thing that you need. Oh, you talk too much, but you're supposed to be a speaker. So that's what you need to realize. Everything that people say is bad is not necessarily bad.
Right.
It could be your strong point, and people want you to believe that that's something bad in you because they
Right.
see your light or your
Right.
gift.
Right. But see, that's what I'm saying. And remember, we talked about that in shadow work sessions too, Tantrums, where we were saying, where I realized, I don't know, I was in meditation and Spirit said, and I said, Spirit, I told you guys this too. I said, I have that fear of, of the uncertainty, of the unknown so much in different things. And I felt like fear was holding me back and stuff from a lot of things, right? And then, what Spirit has said to me, and I told you guys, I said, Spirit said, you need fear to push you to do certain things, stuff. Because if you didn't have the fear, it wouldn't allow you to be able to do this, or you wouldn't want to do this, or you know what I'm saying? So sometimes you need a little piece of that to push you, right? That's what you were saying too about the whole situation. And sometimes you need your dark side, and I was saying that too. That's why I said sometimes you it's about control. It's about the control. You know how to turn it off and how to turn it on. Don't leave that. Don't just sit in your shadow. That's when your ego gonna come out, right? You get egotistical, where you have too much ego, you have too much darkness. It's about balance. You see, it's about balance, because even if you have both, that's okay. But you use the good more, right? Because that goes with the universal laws and reference of integrity. We always get told that, right? We know that, right? We live by that. If you're a spiritual being, you should. Right? But that's also a part of you doing the shadow work and be able to face yourself and know what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. Right? Yes, often the thing that we want to hide is the thing that he wants to use. Exactly. That's right, young girl. That's right. It's hard to find that place. It is hard. It's gonna be hard to find the place, because that's a part of shadow work. But because I told you guys from the beginning, shadow work is not easy. It's not a walk in the park. It's not fun, and it's not gonna be one time, one hit it or quit it. You're not gonna be able to do that. You're gonna have to. It's gonna have to be a routine of things, right?
That's why people don't want to do it, because it's too hard.
There you go.
It's easier to say it's them, not me.
That's right. That's right. So lucky star, now that's a part of discipline that you need to work on. Right? So that's one thing you need to write down in reference of shadow work is discipline. And as Miss T always tell us, discipline is a part of a spiritual being, a spiritual life, your spiritual journey, your spiritual walk is to have discipline. So that is the first thing you have to work on, right? That's a part of one of your flaws, and that's okay, right? Yeah. All of us have to work on discipline, right? That's okay. Be kind.
And that's why fasting is good. It's simple, but fasting teaches you discipline, and we're going to be doing fasting soon.
Yes, we're going to do our fasting, sis.
Yeah, it teaches you to put some things aside, things that you like. Because when I used to do, when I wanted to bring something in, I was like, okay, I want to give up something, but I'm not going to if I don't like chocolate, I'm not going to give up chocolate, because I could do that anyway. You have to give up something that you really like to show that dedication. That's so if you can give that something up that you like for a little while, that teaches you disciplining yourself.
That's right.
So learning how to small steps along the way to get you disciplined, to get your mind oriented to what you're looking for, because it's easier. Oh, you know what? Like, I need to exercise, but I ain't. Exactly. I was like, I started that next week, and then next week been 2 years ago. So I never started.
Right.
I don't want to do it. So it's easier to just,
that's
so
true.
Learning to discipline yourself.
Yeah, that's true. But like you said, we are doing a fast. Also, I want to announce that for my All in the Cards family too. Our fasting is going to start next week from the 9th to the 11th. We're doing 3 days, right? And we want to do intermediate fasting, but if you want to step into the fasting where you don't have any food or any water, do that too. Do what resonates with you. If you feel like you can't fast for that long, or maybe you have health issues, don't pass out, okay? Do what you have to do. to sacrifice and to pray and to meditate during that time. That's really what it's about, right? Being able to make that extra connection, right, with source and with your ancestors, to honor them. And at that time, I actually start posting a lot of things for you guys on my page, on my Instagram, on my YouTube. And I want to, definitely emphasize, if you haven't been able to do fasting in the past, maybe this is your time to try it, right? Because intermediate is not fasting. Well, we're going to do 16 and 8. So 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating, okay? So if you really think about it, that's not that bad, because you're sleeping some of that as well, right? So just try, because I feel that that it's a time for you to it's the beginning of this 8th year, right? And this is a part of you building yourself up as well. Like Tantala said, strength, endurance, giving yourself something to work towards, right? And bettering yourself, right? Even in your food. Maybe during that fasting period where we on with the 8 of eating, you eat salads, right? So not only during our fasting time, it's about also maybe doing your shadow work during that time. That's a really good time to do shadow work during your fasting. So I recommend that, family. January the 9th through the 11th, we back on it. My sister, I forgot about that. I'm glad you said that, so we could announce it. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, did anybody else have anything they wanted to share? A story you want to share, a question you had about shadow work, or anything else about the fasting or anything, you can ask that question. And like I said, we'll be back on here January 20th with Tiff Talks, and we're going to be talking about emotional maturity. Make sure you get a notebook so you can just jot some stuff down if you want to. And another thing I want to say, some of us may be in a situation where we don't feel comfortable writing stuff down. You might not have that privacy. You can record it on your phone, so you can just go back and listen to it. You don't have to write it down, even though writing it down is good. Because I know I started out writing stuff down, and then I, record some things as well. Because I started shadow work 2019. So, and I didn't even realize how much more peaceful I had become in my mind until somebody asked me. I was like, oh, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, which is Lucky Star.
Yeah, Lucky Star.
Okay.
Please keep loving each other. All I gotta say, exactly.
Yeah, you can write it down on a napkin if you want to, Gio. It doesn't matter, just as long as you're writing it down and getting it out. And
I wrote
it down. Some people say write a letter to somebody who may have called you something. You don't have to give it to them. You can write it down to release it from yourself and burn it if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to give it to them, you can.
Yeah.
Just whatever you can get the journal. All in the cards have journals on her.
Yeah, website. I do. I have journals.
So you can go in there and get one if you want one, or just get you a notebook.
Yeah, we got plenty of them. But like she said, if you don't want to do that, just get your notebook, get your piece of paper, a plain piece of paper. You can get whatever you want. It's about you releasing those emotions and putting them on paper. And like Tantala said, if you can write it, it's best. Because you remember, family, they're trying to get us out of not even being able to write now, right? So writing is a whole different way of you setting your intentions. You understand? And so I recommend writing, right? Because that's what I love to do. I love to write. But, if you can't do that, I do record myself sometimes. We have those phones. But of course, with that phone too, family, other people can probably find that one day and hear that or whatever.
Yeah.
So be mindful. Be mindful. And I recommend writing it. And I love what Tantala said about burning it. I've done that before plenty of times. Those are pretty much rituals, right? And so as a spiritual being and on your spiritual journey, you're probably going to come across having to do that anyway with releasing things from your past and your traumas. And I recommend you really do those type of things where it's a burning the paper or whatever you're going to do around moon cycles. So the full moon is when you release. So do those type of burning ceremonies around the full moon, all right? Which is always normally closer to the end of the month, not the beginning, because the new moons is at the beginning of the month, family, all right?
Mhm. And writing it down helps you think too. As you're writing it down, you can get your mind to where you're thinking about what you're actually saying. Because you're just talking. Sometimes you're just talking.
That's right.
Geo, you can look up the moon cycle. You just Google it.
Yeah.
Okay, like the full moon, the new moon, the gibbous moon.
That's
You know,
right.
all of that. So you can just Google what's the current moon cycle, and it'll tell
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And then you can also just Google like different things that you can do on different moon cycles. It's all you can find it. Just Google
Yeah.
it. Mhm.
Yeah. Sure enough. Yeah. So you can always find that. That's one good thing about technology is that you have everything at your tips on how to find the moon information. It'll even give you journal prompts out there for your shadow work. So I have in all my shadow work videos that are on my channel under the playlist. If you go over there, I give you journal prompts in each one of them, you know, based off of the subject.
And
So,
you just put some up on your Instagram or is on
oh yeah, I put some
you
on
put
my
the journal prompts up
and
there
in
too.
my Patreon. I make sure my Patreon family keep it.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, I make
And yeah, go on her Patreon because when we go over there and doing those shadow work sessions, they are very good. They are.
Yeah,
I make sure I missed the last one, but I ain't gonna miss the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, sis, it was canceled because our good sis, remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patreon, allinthecards.com. And let me say this: when you go over there, be ready to be in good spirits. And we don't want no.
That's right. Don't bring no riffraff.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't want that. We're trying to be elevating, not de-elevating.
That's right. And I was in on my Patreon. I basically our Patreon, what she's talking about is the shadow work sessions live at 6:30 on Wednesday nights. Every Wednesday night at 6:30, we do shadow work sessions all together. And I mainly have topics, or we'll all get in the chat and talk about what we want to talk about. You know, how we feel. You know, really working on our mental health. Is there something bothering you? Have you done your shadow work? You know, so please do.
Yeah.
And on Thursday nights we tap in with each other. You know, I do mini readings over there because our spiritual family meets over on our spiritual mother page, which is Undisputed Truth. She does them on Tuesdays and I do it on Thursdays. So it's all about helping our family, honey, and the people that's on our pages, you know. But yeah, so that's, you know, it's like she said, it's all about saving souls out here now. That's all it is. And make sure you guys are repenting your sins, honey. Repenting your sins, because we're in a time of repentance.
So, karma circling around.
That's right. So I hope you guys are doing that and that goes with your shadow work, right? Because of the things that you've done in the past or the things that you may not even know. That's what me and Tantra was talking about. We say that too, with the unknown and the known, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, Geo. Go on there and look at her videos. She got a lot of them on there, allinthecards.com, Healing with Keziah. And I always tell people to go over there. Go over there. She already got it listed. Everybody, I tell them to go over there and do it.
Yeah. I mean, because they are helpful. You know, I get a lot of people that still email me about videos that I did do in like 2019. You know what I'm saying? And they like, that video still helped me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the part that makes me feel good, as well as I utilize it myself. I ain't no better. I'm still human and, you know, a spiritual being on my journey. And sometimes, like I tell y'all, Keisha will show up versus Keziah, honey. And sometimes we got to go backwards to get
because I've been trying to keep mine.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep my shadow down. I've been trying
to stay laid back.
Right, sis. She's trying to keep that shadow tame, you know. So,
yeah, don't let me lean up. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's right, sis. That's right. So yeah. But she said, thank you, ladies. This is very helpful and informative. No problem, sis. Yeah. That's all we try to do, you know.
All right. Well, we didn't win over, so it's fine. But thank you, All in the Cards, Keziah, for coming. And like I said, y'all tune in next with the January 20th. We're going to talk about emotional maturity. And then, like I said, after that, February 3rd is effective communication. But if y'all have anything after that y'all want to talk about, just let me know. And if you have questions after the video, put them in the comments and we can try to answer it for you. If you have
and I want to say also, I have Key and T on Sunday mornings, which is my podcast, where I do different topics. It could be anything over there. You already know. We don't just talk about shadow work over there, but and I got plenty of videos over there under the podcast as well. So yeah, come and check out Key and T as well.
Yes. And you said Sundays, not this Sunday, right?
Yeah, not this Sunday, but next. We do it every other now. So it's every other Sunday at 9 a.m. and it'll be posted on my community tab. And you could go back and watch old podcasts where Tantalus was on one of mine where we talked about spiritual readings, remember?
Yeah.
So she's been on my podcast too. So go back and check that out if you wanted to know about spiritual readings. She had a lot of input on that one. So and the podcast is about all kinds of stuff over there. I do a lot of astrology, numerology. We talked about that. And we talk about the signs, a lot of the zodiac signs and stuff. So yeah.
And everybody need to find out what their zodiac sign, sun, moon, rising is very important, especially when you want to do moon cycles as well. So you want to get it around your moon cycle that works best for you.
Right. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank everybody for showing up. And like I said, if you have anything you want to add, you can leave it in the comment section. Don't forget to check out All in the Cards channel. And like she said, she's going to have the her podcast next Sunday, 9:30. And also check out her Patreon as well. Make sure you come and write.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And you got a lot of videos over there about the message to the people. So go over there and check that out. That's really needed for a lot of people.
Yeah, that one that she did today with the ancestor message. Yeah, check that out. That's good. Okay, everybody, y'all have a good night. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you again January 20th at 7.
Bye, y'all.